Hey everybody, this is Timothy Gay here, back with another review, and today we are looking at the expansion for Draconis Invasion. This is the first expansion. I reviewed the base game a little while back when I had more time and did written reviews. So I will link that to this review so you can check it out. My initial thoughts on the base game. What we're looking at today is a prototype preview set of some cards. There's going to be a lot more cards in this when it hits the Kickstarter, but this was provided to me by the designer and publisher, so keep that in mind. This is a sort of review, kind of. I'm not going to really teach you how to play the game, and I would hope you there's other really good resources for that. I just kind of want to give you an idea of what this new expansion is bringing to the table. And first and foremost is variety, which is the lifeblood of every deck builder. Because, you know, when you play a lot of deck builders, you start seeing the same cards. You start, especially ones with static markets like Draconis. The base game came with a ton of variety to make every game different, but, you know, you always want more. That's why I like games like Dominion have like 100,000 expansions, or Star Realms has so many expansions, because you want more. These games are so addicting that it's a cheaper way to play card games than like a collectible card game, but you still want to buy more. Got to catch them all. But one thing I should point out that has changed since my original review is, you see it says 1.1 in the top there. The turnover view has changed slightly. Not a lot to make it so that you have to relearn the game, but it's made the game better in my opinion. So it's added this E and this F. So before, your only options were B, C, and D, which were to buy a card from the market, get new campaign cards, which are your kind of hidden missions to defeat monsters, which monsters you want to defeat to get more points with your campaign cards. Kind of, I always think of it like the tickets and ticket to rides, your secret agenda that kind of drives your path through the game. You could always defeat invaders, you know, which were the different shapes cards like this one. But now you can eliminate cards from your hand as one of the options. So if you don't do those other things, you can now eliminate, which means you can trash one non-terror card from your hand, which is great because this game it felt like you were getting bogged down with your starter junk cards, or later in the game when you didn't need as much money and things like that, where you were getting stuck with those. And then also on top of that, the terror cards were stuck with those. It's nice to have that option to just cull your deck as your option. Now it kind of is using your whole turn, you know, pretty much beyond the action, but that's a really cool addition. And the other thing that you can always do is, if you have a gold that you did not use, you can take it and set up the next turn by taking it and put it on top of your deck. You know, you have always that one leftover gold or something like that you didn't spend. So that's a really cool addition. It kind of makes me think of Shards of Infinity, where you had that leftover money, and in most of these deck builders you have leftover money, it just gets discarded. This one you can set up, but in Shards of Infinity you could level up. So I like that addition because I'm on a Shards of Infinity kick lately. So anything like that game is awesome. So back to Draconis. So what we have, we've got new event cards, which I'll get to. Let's just get to them right now. So event cards, you know, are one of the timers of the game. There's two ways the game can end, and I'm going to briefly tell you that. If somebody kills 6 of these monsters, the game will end. If the stack of event cards runs out, and the events are run by I mentioned the terror cards earlier. The terror cards act as a timer in conjunction with this, because the more terror cards flying around, the quicker you're going to go through events, because you have a terror die. If it gets to 6, you would flip one of these event cards, which usually helps the people not in first place. There's another thing that I like about this game. A lot of deck builders they can have runaway leader problems, and there's no way to catch up. These almost feel like they're specifically put in the game to prevent that. And it usually gives a leg up to the people that are behind. And what do I mean by that? So here's a good example. It says players with the most kills, which kills of these monsters, that's what it means, would place a non-terror card from their hand into the hand of another player. So you'd have to give a card that's potentially good. Maybe you're stuck with an awesome hand when this event comes out, which would be terrible. And so you give it into the hand of another player. It doesn't say which player. So everybody can give their card to maybe Joe Schmo that's in dead last or something like that, and they hope he can't use it to win. Something like that. Then we got another one. Player with the most kills must trash one non-terror card from their hand. So you might have to be forced to trash a good card. And then it says all other players may trash any number of non-terror cards. So you could quickly cull your deck there if you're not the guy that's in first. He only gets one. And we got two more. I'll just show you both of them. Why not? Players with the most kills must choose another player. Give any 2 campaign cards to that player. So the campaign cards are your secret missions that you can get as one of your actions. You can get more. So you'd have to give a couple of those, which is, you spend a turn taking 2 of those. Yikes. And we have players with the most kills will place 2 random cards from their hand into another player's hand. That could be good or bad. Maybe you give them 2 junk cards. Who knows? So the cool thing that's added in this, in addition to more cards, which you could just add as more variety, but the cool thing, if you've ever played the Harry Potter Battle for Hogwarts deck builder game, you start in one place, and they call it in this battle stages, is what they call it in this, and that it was, in the Harry Potter, it was divided by books. Now, what they did was, as you played through the books, you would open up boxes that had cards that would make the game get harder, more advanced. In this one, it's going to progress with a storyline, like a campaign storyline, and as you go through each game, this is a competitive game. The market will change, and it comes in these I guess they're going to be like sealed envelopes or something like that would change with the story and would determine what's in the market row, what's available. It's going to tell you what event cards, it's going to tell you starting hand differences, some monster differences that's set up, different things like that. So when I talk about variety, I'm not talking about just more cards, which it is. You could just strictly just play this as more cards if you don't want to do campaign or something like that. So there's a little bit here for anyone. If you just want more cards, you got more cards. If you want more kind of a campaign story feel, a little more meat to the actual experience of the game without complicating the game. It's all mainly changes to setup, changes to things like that. So it keeps it fresh without changing tons of rules, which I really appreciate that because I hate reading rules. It's hard enough to get through one rule book. It would be terrible if you had to keep changing rules every single game. So it's just slight tweaks that make it so it's exciting and fresh. If you get this game to the table a lot with the same, it doesn't even have to be the same group, but if you did, you could it'd be a great experience together. So let's talk about this. 2 different types of cards that are typically in a game of Draconis. We have Defenders, which you will use to kill the big bad monsters. The big bad monsters get you points. Your secret missions, your campaign cards give you secret points based on what monsters you're supposed to go after. And that's how you can win. Maximize your points. Just because you kill 6 monsters and end the game doesn't mean you're going to win. You want to make it count. So these types of cards, the red ones, are how you do that. And then you also have action cards, which are usually ways to do cool stuff, do more stuff on your turn. And it's actually the first step on your turn is to play an action card. So let's just take a look at some of these new ones because they're pretty darn cool. Sorry for the glare. These cards got a nice finish to them, but they don't like my camera. So here's the first one. It's a sacrifice, gives you an additional action. That's what that means. So you normally in turn you get one action, you could do another one. And this says choose another player. You may each trash a non-terror card. So it's a great way to cull the deck. There's a lot more deck culling, I thought. Here's another example. Blessed. The art in this game, awesome. You'll see. I mean, that's just the first thing that grabs you. Trash 1 wealth card to gain 1 treasure card. The wealth cards are your starting money, your junk that you don't want, except for like on your first turn, and then from then on, you're like, I don't want this. So this is a great way to swap out a wealth for a treasure, which a treasure is basically a better version of a wealth with more money on the card. So you can buy bigger and better things like this guy, Metagenesis. He looks kind of like the dude from Pirates of the Caribbean. So discard any number of defender cards, your red cards, and gain +2 cards to your hand per discarded card. That's insane. You could like draw up a full deck, go through your whole deck on like one turn. Craziness. That's pretty fun. I like draw cards like that. This one gives you draw two card, a draw card, and then choose another player. That player must trash one non-terror card from their hand. So it kind of feels like one of those event cards. They're stuck with the terror. Here's one, the Flaming Sword. Oh, and I didn't mention the cost of the cards down here. So these are getting progressively more expensive, and of course better. So discard terror cards. For each discarded terror card, gain +3 cards to your hand. So in this case, the terror cards are good, and you're also not playing the terror card, which will lead to triggering an event. So that's pretty cool. So you can get rewarded for having Terror Central in your hand. That'd be a good one to time with that somehow. Get lucky with it. This one, here's a new symbol, gives you an additional buy, because on your turn you can buy one card. This would let you buy another card. Choose another player. That player gains +2 cards to their hand. So it's a bad ability for you, but you get all this good stuff, like 2 more actions, you know? So that kind of balances that card. This is really cool. I like that art too. We got the Eye of the Storm. Gives you $20 to spend. Not only buying cards, the other cool thing, and I'll get to that. I'll get to that in just a second. Another pro in this game for me is some ways to use your money. So this says draw 1 campaign card, which is your hidden missions. Choose another player. They also draw a campaign card. So you get a little bit of benefit. Somebody else gets some benefit. Hopefully you choose a person way behind and just leave them there. Choose another player. You may gain 1 wealth card to your... You may each gain a wealth card. So it's an expensive one, but it gives you a lot of money. Gives you extra buy and card draw. Now, briefly talked about this for a second with the money. The way you kill these monsters is with these red cards, but you don't just get to play these cards. You actually have to pay these guys because they're not working for free. So in order to use this guy to do 5 strike to one of these monsters, you got to pay him $5, or he's not doing it for you. And that includes any of his ability, everything. He's not going to do it if you don't pay him. That is such a cool, like, hand manipulation thing going on where you're like, I want to use this money to buy this card, but oh look, I have enough to pay these guys to kill this monster this time, because remember, you can only do one of these things. So you got to look at your hand and min-max what the best move would be. Is if it's the best time to attack something, the best time to buy another card, you know. So we got some new cards here that are ready to kill some monsters. We got the Centurion. He can gain 1 treasure card per 2 attacking. So if you have these guys going in pairs, you'll gain treasure for free. So these would be a good one to get a bunch going at once. Then we got the Ravagers. You don't have to pay him a thing. He doesn't look like he needs money at all. What's he going to do with money? He's a weird thing. Place this defender card in an opponent's discard pile. So, you know, you get the 5 strike, but these guys kind of ravage around and move around the board because, like I said, they just enjoy killing. So they want to do it any way possible. So these are really cool because they kind of float around. But they're super cheap. They're only 20. So if you need that 5 strike, and you don't always have to use them on the turn where you need him most. Here's another one where he's super strong. He's got 30 strike. He costs a lot to, 40. And the initial cost is a lot too. But he's going to get destroyed after using, trashed. Choose another player. That player must trash 2 random cards from their hand. So that's another thing in this game. There's a lot of, not a lot of direct confrontation, but there is some really neat interaction in Draconis that it never feels that mean, but there's more than, say, like a game Dominion where there's some cards where there's some interaction, but these ones are some pretty interesting direct conflict. And here's a first. I don't remember if I don't believe there was cards that gave you victory points, but this lion guy, he's worth 2 points at the end of the game. So if you keep him to the end of the game, he's worth $2 or 2 points. Sorry, and the person with the most points, of course, wins. Right. So it's a good way to get some points, and he's pretty strong. This guy you're mostly getting for the points because, like I said, the game ends when you've killed 6 of these. So points are not the most. They're a pretty precious commodity in this game. We got the Astro Magus, which is a crazy-looking, futuristic, whippy person. It says choose another player. That player gains plus 6 cards to their hand. Why? 65 strike. That's like going to kill almost everything by itself. So, really powerful. But of course, all the superpowers are weighed with the negative ability there. So we have Seraph, 0 strike, but this is because it's a one-time use thing. But you would get to reveal the top card of the gold invader deck, which is, there's a blue deck and a gold deck. It would be your monsters. And then you just get to kill it. It's like an instant kill. Pretty cool. I mean, it's a random luck of the draw. Hopefully you'll get something like that where it's 7 points or, you know, that's a lot of points for a gold one. So that's pretty neat, though. I think it's fun. I like that. You have the Shadow Beast. This guy, he's of course also trashed after use, and all the players must trash 1 gold card from their hand if available. So it's a good way to nuke some gold out of people's hands, and at the same time get to use 30 strike, which is very powerful. And then we have the Minotaur, awesome looking Minotaur. Place this defender card in an opponent's discard pile. So he's going to leave 2. He's 15 strike, and he's not that expensive at 50. Now let's take a look at these invaders. So let's first look at the one that was provided from the blue deck. And like I said, remember, these are not every card that's going to be in this. There's like 300 something cards, like tons of cards. So the Fire White, he's got 25 health. He's worth 3 points. He's an undead, and sometimes it's important for like campaigns or different things like that where the type of monster is important. So this says when he's revealed, so for instance you have a row of these at the bottom that are available. When one gets killed, you flip over the next one, and it says revealed, attacking player chooses another player. You each must trash 1 random card. So it's usually bad stuff that happens when they come out. So he's one of the more powerful because he's blue. Actually, no, I said that backwards. The gold is more powerful. The blues are easier. Sorry. The Babylon. Flip all other invader cards face down when this gets revealed, and then you flip them face up after this one's defeated. So this is like forcing you to kill this. It locks down the whole invader row. Really cool kind of interaction of the invader row. Some more cool art. Attacking player gains 1 terror card. It means if you killed something, this comes out, and then you also increase the terror count by 4. So it's very terrifying. We got the Abomination. Oh, attacking player chooses another player. That player must trash a card from your discard pile. Yikes. That's a bummer. Because they're gonna. What do you think they're gonna trash? Your best card, probably, if it's in your discard pile. So that would suck. We got Leviathan. That's so cool. All players must discard 1 treasure card from their hand or gain a terror. So you have a choice there. Get another terror, clogs up your deck, or trash that treasure card that you really wanted to use on your turn. That one's cool because it affects everybody too. Then we have the Sea Dragon. The attacking player draws their next hand, and for every terror card, they gain an extra terror card. He's smiling. Look how happy he is about that. What a turd. All right, so that's all that was in the preview set. Remember, this is not everything that is going to be in the expansion. But the cool thing I like about this game is it feels familiar. You know, if you've played deck builders before, this will be easy to pick up. It'll also, you know, it's one that you can easily teach to someone if it's their first deck builder. There's not a lot of tons of moving parts. There's that little bit of thing where you're having to manage within your hand to pay for these guys, but it all kind of makes sense because these weird, freakish monster things aren't working for free. And like when I teach people this game, usually I say something like that, and they're like, "Oh, well, that makes sense. Why would they just all of a sudden be abducted and start working for me?" But that type of thing. I love that there's a timer with the events, and that the events help the people in last place catch up, and makes for some exciting finishes. Where I was in dead last, and remember that time, but that event card came out and gave me just what I needed to do to try to skyrocket to first place, and there you are, thinking you're going to win, and not today. So I like it's not a long game. Of course, the art. I don't even need to say it. The art's amazing. That's another thing that you can easily get people to play this game, because the art's really cool. It is dark fantasy, so if you're not really into dark fantasy, maybe that's not your thing. But as most deck builders go, it's not incredibly thematic, so if you can get past that, the mechanics and stuff are just mechanics on top of a theme, which is fine. I don't want some kind of role-playing game when I'm playing a deck builder. So that's not a negative. So other than that, I think the cool thing, I like the idea that they're going to have the packs that you open as you go along. That's really cool. Just some really cool additions, and more variety is the main thing here for me. So Draconis Invasion, remember, check out my written review if you want to see more about the base game. I think I can write well. I don't know. Maybe I can write more better than I do videos. I don't know. But either way, thanks to the designer and publisher for sending me this again, and definitely go back it on the Kickstarter when it goes live very soon. Thanks.